Good evening and welcome to the Jay Duke Show, live on Jumping Instructors Network and on YouTube. I want to thank my producers, Randy and Laura. Oh, we got a little static. I want to thank my producers, Randy and Laura, for doing a fantastic job in the background, as always, and for this opportunity to be on the Jumping Instructors Network. Tonight's a very special episode. We have Kevin and Diana Babington. I started this show to tell about great stories in the horse world. And tonight you're going to hear as great a story as we'll ever do, I'm sure, on the show. So I'm very, very honored. The show is brought to you by Farm Vet. They talk about doing a great job. Farm Vet does a great job with their customer service, with their products. Everything about Farm Vet is the best as far as all your horse's needs and cares. If you're at any of the horse shows that are going on right now, look for the Farm Vet trailer, knock on the door, say hi. They'll greet you with a smile and be welcoming and help you find the best products for your horse. So I want to introduce my guests tonight. We have Diana Babington joining us. She has been with Kevin for 30 years. She's a lawyer, and now she's a professional. She decided to go from the law office to the barns, and I'm going to say that's probably a great decision. Some people might say otherwise, but I think it's worked out very well for her. And she's now a professional trainer for the past 10 years. And the star of the show tonight is my good friend, Kevin Babington. Kevin has an amazing career with horses. 2004 was a really special year. He was in the Athens, Greece Olympics, competing with Ireland. He was on 12 winning Nations Cups teams. He won the Le Ball Grand Prix. He's won Devon twice. He's won back-to-back Grand Prix in Wellington, Florida. He's won the King George Cup in Hickstead, England. The top of the top. So an amazing career with Kevin. And I'm so honored to have him and his wife, Diana, on the show tonight. Good evening.
Good evening.
Diana. Good evening, James. So, Kevin, let's start with you. Tell me about. I'm always fascinated about how people get started in horses, and specifically in your case, my mother, who coached me and she's trained 6 Olympians, she started her career in Ireland, and so trained there with Colonel Dudgeon, and so I'm interested to hear how you got started in horses.
Well, I didn't come from a horse family, but I was always animal crazy when I was a kid. I had rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, you name it. And a friend of mine that I went to school with told me about a local riding school that had just started up. And I think I was 9 or 10 at the time. And so I went to the lesson and I got hooked. It went through the whole pony club, it was all the local riding schools were very involved in pony club. So my background would have been sort of an eventing background. And so I learned a little bit of dressage, cross country, show jumping. I loved the flat work. I loved the dressage. But I didn't go up through the pony ranks in Ireland. Like I didn't have fancy ponies but I went through the pony club ranks. And then when I was 17, I decided when I was 15, I decided I wanted to make a career out of horses. But I had applied to the Irish National Stud to do a stud and stable husbandry course. And the administrator there said, I can't take you this year, but if you do your BHSAI, I promise I'll take you next year. Mm-hmm. So I applied to Iris Kellett's, which was Iris Kellett would be the George Morris of Ireland. She trained Eddie Mackin and Paul Dara, and the list goes on and on. And so I went there, sort of realized at that stage that I had a bit of talent for the show jumping. Right. And, we had good riders there, Niall Talbot, Damien Gardner, Pat Dwyer. There was all the good riders were there at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I sort of held my own there a little bit. And that's when I decided, forget the racing. I want to stick with the show jumping.
Nice. And it's obviously worked out very well. Damian Gardner, he was a very special friend of mine, and spent a lot of time in the ring with him, and really a great guy. I do apologize to the viewers. We're having a little trouble with Diana's connection. Diana had to go to Tryon today to deliver some horses. And the plan was for her to be at home with Kevin, but then something came up with one of the drivers, and of course she admirably filled in and jumped in. So we'll see if we can get her connection sorted through. Kevin, I want to talk about your Olympic experience. You were in Athens in 2004. Just share with us what that was like in competing for your country.
Like every rider, going to the Olympics is a dream for every rider, leading up to the Olympics, 2004, I had a phenomenal year. I went back-to-back Grand Prix in Florida, won the La Balle Grand Prix. I think every Nations Cup we entered in that year, we were in the top three. It was an incredible year. But right before, like maybe 4 shows out, I jumped at Rotterdam, and my horse had 4 down in the first round and 2 down in the second round. And I thought, here I am, probably one of the top picks. Carling King jumped double clear at Donna Esching in the European Championships, which helped Ireland qualify for the Olympics. And now I'm 6 weeks out or 8 weeks out, and all of a sudden my horse isn't jumping well.
Right.
So I had to convince management my horse needs a break. But it ran the risk if I take too much of a break, out of sight, out of mind. So I was a little bit nervous getting that close. I thought, here it's in my hand and the whole thing could disappear on me. And, we gave him a break, and he came back jumping like he always did. There was nail biting leading up to it. But once, and you're not on the team until you've passed that final jog on the final day. And so the day we passed the jog on the final day, then I realized, okay, now I'm part of the Olympic team. And It was the most exciting thing you can imagine.
Yeah, congratulations. Such an incredible accomplishment, and well deserved on your part, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Yeah, well deserved. I don't know if do we have Diana? Is she able to join us? Can you hear us, Diana?
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
You can hear us okay? Yeah, it's a little quiet. We'll have to talk to Tryon about their cell phone service. So let's just stay with Kevin here.
Sorry,
talk about last year and that day. If you could, as a rider, tell us what happened as a rider in the ring and in that fateful class for you.
Yeah, so it was an interesting day. I had 2 horses in the qualifier for the Grand Prix. I had Super Chilled, who I just sort of moved up to the 4-star, 5-star level. And I had Shurapur, who I had the accident on. And when I jumped Super Chilled, he had 1 down in the qualifier, but he jumped the most amazing round he's ever jumped. And I came out of the ring thinking, maybe I should just use him on Sunday and use Vera tomorrow, and that there was a $75,000 class on the Saturday, because I felt Super Chilled was ready for the 5-star.
Right.
But then I'm thinking, okay, she's won this competition before. It was a $250,000 Grand Prix back then. She'd won it 4 years prior to that, and I thought, wouldn't it be lovely to win it back to back? So that's gone through my head, but I decided to go anyway. I knew the combination rode very short because I'd already ridden it, but Super Chilled holds himself in the combinations a little bit. So he made it was a 1-stride to a 2-stride. He made that distance comfortable enough. But Shurapur is also quite adjustable in her combinations. So I got the shot in I was looking for, landed, said, whoa, she picked up in 1 stride jumping out. It was Oxer vertical. She picked up in 1 stride. And then I remember her sort of getting caught up a little bit on the top rail and just hitting the ground like a ton of bricks. And I knew the split second I hit the ground, I knew I was seriously hurt because I couldn't move my arms and I couldn't move my legs. And normally I'm one to jump up off the ground, and I can't stand dealing with medics and ambulances and things like that. I played rugby for years, so it was beaten into us that get up as soon as you fall. But so when the ringmaster came in, and my good friend John Brennan and his wife Missy Clark ran in, and I said to them, don't move me. And normally they'd be saying, stay down, and I'd be trying to get up. But I knew I was hurt. And the strangest feeling is my hands felt like they were straight up in the air, and I couldn't get them to go back down. And so they said I was knocked out, but I honestly don't think I was, because I remember everything that happened. And if I was, it was very, very, very short time. And it took for quite some time, because I had to be medevaced out of there. And to add insult to injury, no pun intended, when they lifted me up into the helicopter, they smacked my nose on the top of the plane going in, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm paralyzed, and now they smash my nose on the thing. Oh, and I'm kind of yelling to them, but they can't hear anything because the engine is running. And so I remember the flight to the hospital. So many things were going through my mind. I'm like, am I really paralyzed for life, or is this just a short-term thing? And I was thinking, is this the end of my career? Maybe I'll be fine once I get to the hospital. There was a lot going through my mind. I remember that flight. It was probably a 10-minute, 15-minute flight, and it felt like 4 hours,
Yes.
And then when I got to the hospital, I was in bad shape. I was, I don't remember a lot the first night, because I think they had me well medicated. And but I do remember that day well. I remember the fall like it was yesterday. Now, I never went back and looked at the videos, because I just didn't want to have nightmares about it. So I just thought it was better that I didn't look at them.
Yeah. Wow. I can relate somewhat to that hospital ride. But obviously I got a little bit luckier than you did, but those thoughts and fears, and you're wondering, like, am I okay, or am I not okay, or what's going to happen next, is it's a true feeling of helplessness. And it's a terrifying thing. And Diana, do we have Diana? Are we able to bring her on? Hi, Diana, can you hear us okay? No. Yeah, sounds like your audio, unfortunately, doesn't seem like it's going to work. That's okay. Well, you know what? We're on our own. It's just me and Kevin, and the star of the show isn't able to come on for us, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. So, Kevin, so when did you find out that this was going to be, something that was going to be a long-term situation, and how was that to deal with? The sad thing about that day it was good and bad. Diana wasn't there. So she had to rush to the hospital. She was inundated with phone calls saying, Kevin's had a serious accident, and she couldn't really get a true answer of how bad it was. But they kept a bit from me in the hospital. They were talking to the doctors. I was out of it on medication anyway for a couple of days, but I didn't really know until probably 3 days in that they were back and forth whether it was a complete or incomplete injury. I'm an optimist, so all I needed was a little bit of hope that I could get better. And but
I mean, after about 3 days, I realized I'm going to be in a wheelchair for a long, long time,
Mhm.
you know, and that was a hard pill to swallow, you know.
Yes. Well, that one I cannot imagine. And certainly there's been some great articles written about you and your, the process you've been going through since that time. Can you tell the viewers, whether you want to talk about the physical or the emotional process of recovery since the accident?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the emotional and end of it goes, um, I would consider myself a strong personality. Like I'm a strong personality, and I always look for hope, and I always look for the glass being half full rather than half empty. So, I had so many people reach out to me and tell me that, look, keep fighting. I so and so's friend of mine has made a full recovery from a very similar accident. I had great people come to the hospital to visit me that had made full recoveries. Diana and her sister were on the phone the whole time doing as much research as they possibly could. And, they came back to me with positive research, none of the negative research, and just to keep my hopes up. And Diana and Dawn, my sister-in-law, spoke to a couple of people who had made full recoveries and or spoke to their moms and they put me in touch with some of these people. So I kept looking for all of that positive feedback. And and I still do. And I still do. And I've regained some movement in my right arm. I get a lot of twinges in my legs and my tummy area and stuff like that below where the injury level is, which is very important. And but as far as I had so much support. Like I have a great family, and I have amazing friends, and like half of Ireland was praying for me, and half the nuns in the town I grew up in were praying for me, and so I knew I got tons of mass cards. Good old Catholic Ireland came through for that,
Right.
and so I tried to stay as positive. Yeah, listen, I had dark days where you're lying there thinking, is this like I'm a very active. Anybody knows me, I'm an active person, and I love to work. I love farming. I love that end of it. At the end of the day, I like to be out fixing, tinkering with tractors or dragging the rings and, power washing something. I love that end of it. And so, thinking about, God, am I ever going to be able to do that again? Not just the riding end of it, that's hard. That is hard. I'm not going to say it's not. The physical end of it, it's a slow process. And, they say your body repairs itself a millimeter a day, So you have to be patient. You have to be patient. And so patience isn't my best virtue. So so that's hard. It's some days I think, oh, I feel really good. My body feels stronger. I feel like I'm getting somewhere. Other days I feel like, I'm getting nowhere. It's unfortunately we moved down to Florida when the COVID hit in. My physiotherapy place closed. Okay. So we've been trying to. I have some good people helping me out, and we're trying to stay as active as we can. We just started at a new place now, which we found is only down the road from where we live in Florida. And I'm going to be able to do some swimming, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm starting that on Thursday.
Good.
And, but I just want to get on with it, and I'm not afraid of the hard work. The pain can be very difficult sometimes. When I get spasms, it goes right to my chest. I have feeling from my nipple line up. Um, so I have pain from my nipple line up or feeling from my nipple line up. So when I do have spasms in my legs, it goes right to my chest.
Okay.
And I've been doing the hyperbaric chamber also, which is I think has been very helpful for my lungs and my voice and Diana thinks she sees a lot of recovery in my movement from that also.
That's quite the process. Diana, can I ask you if you can log out and then log back in, possibly we can fix the issue for you. So you go ahead and just log out and come back into the studio. Kevin, let's continue with you. And you've already talked about this quite a bit, but we're even seeing the comments come up here. The community support has been very well deserved. I'm not going to say it's been incredible, because if anybody deserves the great community support in the horse world, it's definitely Kevin Babington. You're a beloved man, and for all you've done. But can you talk about that a little bit more? I know there were some horse shows and special classes that did some things for you, and the outpouring of support for you after the accident.
Yeah, I have to say, I knew I had lots of friends, but I was blown away by the horse industry, how they got behind me. It was just incredible. And, my close friends obviously were there for me, but people that I knew, but I didn't really know, stepped up to the plate, whether it was donations or reaching out with ideas. The amount of people that called and said, if you need to get into the Mayo Clinic, or if you need to get into this clinic or that clinic. Poor Diana was inundated with phone calls and emails, and by the hundreds. It was because they knew they couldn't reach me, so they reached out to Diana. My sister-in-law was also fantastic in doing research and reaching out to people, and she really, really stepped up to the plate and was a good support for Diana. Like, she was a very, very good support for Diana. And then my own immediate family in Ireland, two of my sisters and my brother flew over right away, right to NYU. And then I have a brother living in the States. He came to visit me in the hospital all the time. And then my mother is in her 90s, so it was just too hard for her to travel.
Right.
But the horse industry were just amazing. Like, everybody's probably going to remember the night we ran a drag queen night as a fundraiser. And, my, best friends, Dara Kearns and Marty Huggins. And it's a long list now, and I probably shouldn't start naming people because I'm going to forget people. But, poor Paul O'Shea, I even dragged him up there. Probably wasn't as a night he wants to remember, but they were all fantastic,
Yeah.
and people I didn't know. What really, really meant a lot to me is kids sending get well cards from small barns, up in Buffalo, New York, and, from little towns. We're praying for you. We're supporting you. I got these the day I left my hospital in the rehab in Kessler. I had some local trainer showed up with this big billboard with all the kids' names on it and all these beautiful notes. And it was just unbelievable. And I felt really bad that I couldn't get back to all these people and tell them how much it really meant to me. And that keeps the fight going, when you know that people are out there really fighting and not just saying it for the sake of saying it. Like, they really, really were behind me, and that meant so much. It's incredible, you know.
Yeah, no question. And unfortunately, I don't think we can get Diana's audio to come clean for us, but she truly is a hero of this story.
Well, I mean, she really is, and you know, I think people have been really happy that she's kept everybody posted on what's going on the recovery, and I mean, she's been incredible. I don't know how she does it because, you know, we already had a full workload, and then she had to take on all this on top of that. I mean, you can imagine doctor's appointments and there's so, you know, dealing with the medical bills and the dealing with the foundation and there's so much on top of what she already had to deal with. And, you know, she, you know, people kept saying, oh, we're following Diana. I was never much of a Facebook person to begin with. And, but,
and here you are live on Facebook.
Yeah, no, but I'd have cousins in Australia send me messages. Lovely to follow Diana's tweets, or not her tweets, Diana's Facebook updates, and you know, that meant so much to people, and it still does. You know,
it does. Yeah, no, she's yeah, very, very well deserved for you. You're very lucky to have her in your life, but you also deserve it.
Thank you.
She's an amazing person. So, but there's lots of good news here too. You're coaching again. They've got you set up with a mic, and you're coaching again. And I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about the protective vests that you're working on. That project. If you could elaborate on what you're currently up to.
Yeah. So, you know, when I was in the hospital, I was on a ventilator when I first went there, and they didn't think I'd be able to get off that as quick as I did, and I literally got off it in 3 weeks after I went to Kessler, so that allowed me to start teaching. So as soon as I moved to Florida, I was having a bad morning, and somebody wanted me to coach them at the show, and Diana, in her tough New Jersey way, said, I was like, oh, I'm not up to it. I can't go. And she's like, yes, you're going, and made me go. And I helped my daughter and one of my students down there that day. And then, so I felt like, hey, I can do this, you know. And the beauty of my setup in Florida is our outdoor ring is literally at the back of my porch from my house. So it's a screened in porch, so I can teach from the porch. Right. I'm in the shade. All my students wear headsets. I wear my mic, and we have somebody on 1 or 2 people on the ground setting jumps. And so we didn't miss a beat when it came to that. And I've done some online teaching, just using FaceTime for right now. But we're working on some very good friends of mine. Jeff Pappas was the one who organized it. We have one of those solo cameras where it follows you around the ring. So we're just running that right now. And so I can start doing some clinics. And I was a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to work. But it works beautifully, you know. You know, the rider wears an earpiece connected to the phone that's videotaping them. And so they can communicate back to me. I don't have to go through somebody on the ground. And you know, the only thing maybe it lacks a little bit, which I'm hoping this new technology will help me with, is the Zoom sometimes is a little bit weak, you know, for fuller details. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to mention for anyone watching, you know, for clinics this summer, this fall, there's still a lot of people that are stuck at home and can't get out to the horse shows. To look up Kevin Babington and contact him and talk about having a clinician right there in your backyard, and you know you could have all the great training right there for you. So please look into that. Yeah,
and Diana has taken over a lot of the teaching too. She's been back and forth to New Jersey and Massachusetts, and people we were helping. and a lot of the teaching down here. Like there was a couple of days where I was teaching, and all of a sudden, because of the medication I was on, I was nodding off, and she'd step in and take over, and she's a fantastic teacher. And we've been, we're on the same page. We've been together for 30 years. So
Right.
she, it's basically listening to me. But the one thing is, like my kids and I were talking about it the other day, my teaching style is very much focusing on the horse and teaching the rider to get the most out of the horse, whereas Diana brings that to the table, plus the equitation background, where she can really work on the rider and work on position and things like that, which is really helpful. So, I mean, I think we complement each other when it comes to that. And so, she's really stepped up to the plate. She was always a great teacher, but she's really stepped up to the plate now and had to take on a whole new role when it comes to teaching.
I just thought of this now. I'm going to book a private lesson for my daughter with you, and we'll do it over the internet. And my daughter's going to be so excited to have a lesson with you. And she's a superstar little junior rider, 17 years old, just like your daughter's an up and coming star. And as soon as this show's over, we're booking a date, and I'm going to have you up to give her a lesson. I can't wait for it. Let's talk about the protective vests, please. That's something. What is your thoughts on this now? After everything you've gone through, what is your thought on riders wearing a protective vest?
Yeah, I wish Diana could be the one to talk about this, because she's been the one really pushing it. But listen, if I'd had a vest on that day, the day of the accident, there's a very good chance I wouldn't be sitting in a wheelchair right now. I'm working with a company that we hope to do working in conjunction with each other, try to get the word out there that it's not only good for amateur riders, but it's good for professional riders, because it can happen to anybody. I'm not saying I'm one of the best riders in the world, but I'm jumping at the highest level, and it can happen. It happened to me, and it can happen to anybody. And it needs to be cool to wear a vest. You have Martin Fuchs, one of the best riders in the world. I think he's number 2 in the FEI rankings right now, if he's not number 1. And he wears one. So I think, a lot of top riders came to me after the accident, visited me in the hospital, and they said, "Hey, listen, we're on board." John Brennan and Missy Clark said they're 100% behind it. They'd like to encourage the equitation kids to wear it. I'd really like to encourage my kids to start wearing them. But we're working on doing, I'm helping a company develop, it's a Kevin Babington line when it comes to vests, but it doesn't matter what line it is, as long as they work, and they've come a long way. They've come a long way, vests, and you can put them under your riding jacket. I know, women are always worried about what people think they look like in their riding clothes, and they might be worried about looking a bit bulky or something. But listen, if it saves your life, or if it saves your back, and we all have families to worry about, it needs to become cool,
Yeah, it sure does. You also have a very successful business. Babington Mills has some unique products that you developed that are really wonderful for the horses for feed and bedding. Can you tell us a little bit about Babington Mills? Yeah,
so I kind of joke about it because I got into it. I don't know if I was starting to go through a midlife crisis or something, but I had this successful writing career and training business, but when 2008 came around, I got a bit of a scare. I'm like, the bottom could fall out of this horse industry, Nobody knew what was going to happen. And I thought, okay, people are still going to have horses and they're still going to need feed and bedding. But I got into the bedding sort of first, and it was a little bit, I wouldn't say by accident, but a good friend of mine by the name of Mike Kelly, I was doing a clinic at his farm in Illinois, and he was chopping straw. And he was telling me, look, I use about a quarter of the amount that I would of conventional straw. But the process he was using didn't have a dust extraction system in it. And I thought, okay, it's not going to work where I'm located in Bluebell in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So I was over in Germany and I found a bag of it that had no dust in it. And Diana and I had been looking for a farm, our own farm, a hay farm. And we had found a place up in Hamburg, Pennsylvania. So we'd already purchased the farm. And then I got this, I got my eye on this bag of dust extracted straw, chopped straw. And I just put my mind on focusing, how am I going to get this set up in America? Mm-hmm. And so I flew all over the world. I flew to Denmark, I flew to Sweden, I flew to Ireland, I flew to England, and looking at all these different plants. And what I noticed in most of these plants, they had mixers attached to their straw bedding. And what it was is to make a forage feed. And I had been making my own forage feed. I'd been using a Denji product with organic grains. And I was buying my organic grains from a Mennonite farmer in Pennsylvania and adding a vitamin mineral pack to it. And the reason I got into that is I was talking to a farmer and he was saying a lot of the grains that they sell to non-human consumption mills come from farms that they spread human feces on. And yeah, so okay. I don't want my horses. I wouldn't eat this myself, so I don't want my horses eating that. So one thing led to another, and I reached out to a chap in England that was a nutritionalist and had developed a good forage baseline. I flew him over to the States as a consultant, and he was very impressed with the raw materials we had on offer over here. Mm-hmm. And then I really researched the best vitamin mineral pack out there, and Alltech was the one that came to mind. So we reached out to Alltech, and we used them as our vitamin mineral supplier. And it's a low starch, low sugar grain, and it really is, the horses blossom on it. Mm-hmm. And then the beauty of the straw is, for people who haven't seen my straw bedding, it's we chop the straw to about 2.5 inches long. Then we run it through a hammer mill. And for people who have worked with straw, when the only soakage that you really get in straw is where it's open on the ends or any cracks in the straw. Mm-hmm. But when you run it through a hammer mill, it opens up the whole node of the straw. So you have complete soakage, and it works a little bit like a kitty litter. And because of the length we chop it, you can use a shavings fork. Like, people always have this impression when you walk in a straw barn, you smell the urine in the barn, and it's hard to work with. So because of how we process it, there's a lot more soakage. We use a really top of the line dust extracting system. So it takes all the dust and the molds out of the straw, and you can use a shavings fork to muck it. So it used to drive me crazy with my guys. I always use straw, and you're supposed to use like a 4, maximum 8 prong pitchfork to muck straw, but usually a 4 or 5 prong is ideal. But they didn't feel comfortable using those, and they were just using regular shavings and wasting so much straw. And being Irish, I'm a bit cheap, so it used to kill me to watch all this good bedding being wasted.
Yes.
So, this once you start using this bedding, it's hard to go back to using shavings again.
Yeah.
And it makes an unbelievable compost for people who can spread on their own farms or stockpile it. It makes a beautiful compost.
That's great. And, for everyone watching, this has been such a difficult year for so many people. And, to see Kevin, for the accident last year, and then now here he is, he's talking about the future, and we're talking about his children and working with his kids and adapting and such. You are the inspiration the world needs right now. And I'm so honored that you came on the show and told your story, because we all need to hear this. And I'll probably be replaying this a few times, this week, just to keep getting that message across, because it's really a beautiful message. And I thank you so much for being a part of this and getting your voice out to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay, for running such a great show. And it's been, wonderful to be able to take the time, and even if we can't see it live, to be able to go back and watch other riders. And a lot of us have had the downtime over the last few months. But I hope your show gets the recognition it deserves, because it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I've got to thank all my viewers. Our numbers are fantastic. They are. I'm blown away by the support we're getting. And I have a feeling you're going to give McLean Ward a run on beating the record here for us, because everyone's going to love this episode. So thank you so much. I want to talk about briefly again, are so happy to have Farm Vet on board with us. Without them, things like this are not possible. And I really appreciate the support that I'm getting from Farm Vet, even as far as creative ideas that they're presenting for us. And it's been really a privilege to work with them. Thank you so much. Next week, we have another superstar rider coming on, Cassio Rivetti. Many of you in North America and in Europe will certainly know that name. He's had some great stories of riding for the Ukraine team and competing internationally all around the world. So a real character Cassio is, and I hope everyone can tune in for that show next Monday. As always, respect the horse and ride safely. Good night.